So now the queen has realized that there is some problem about Savitri marrying Shraddhavan. It hasn't been spoken out, but from the way that Aswapati spoke, the way that Narad has spoken, she has realized that there's some problem. So we start today with a description of Savitri's mother. Aspiring to the nature of the gods, a mind proof-armored, mailed in mighty thoughts, a will entire, cushioned behind wisdom's shield. Though to still heavens of knowledge she had risen, though calm and wise and Aswapati's queen, human was she still, and opened her doors to grief. The stony-eyed injustice she accused of the marble godhead of inflexible law, nor sought the strength extreme adversity brings to lives that stand erect and front the world power. Her heart appealed against the impartial judge, taxed with perversity the impersonal one. Her tranquil spirit she called not to her aid, but as a common man beneath his load grows faint and breathes his pain in ignorant words, so now she arraigned the world's impassive will. What stealthy doom has crept across her path, emerging from the dark forest's sullen heart? What evil thing stood smiling by the way and wore the beauty of the Shalwa boy? Perhaps he came an enemy from her past, armed with a hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknowing, and seized her unknown. Here, dreadfully entangled, love and hate meet us blind wanderers mid the perils of time. Our days are links of a disastrous chain. Necessity avenges casual steps. Old cruelties come back unrecognized. The gods make use of our forgotten deeds. Yet all in vain the bitter law was made. Our own minds are the justices of doom. For nothing have we learned, but still repeat our stark misuse of self and others' souls. There are dire alchemies of the human heart, and fallen from his ethereal element, love darkens to the spirit of nether gods. The dreadful angel, angry with his joys, woundingly sweet, he cannot yet forego, is pitiless to the soul his gaze disarmed. He visits with his own pangs his quivering prey, forcing us to cling enamored to his grip, as if in love with our own agony. This is one poignant misery in the world, and grief has other lassos for our life. Our sympathies become our torturers. Strength have I my own punishment to bear, knowing it just. But on this earth perplexed, smitten in the sorrow of scourged and helpless things, often it faints to meet other suffering eyes. So I'll pause there. You're going to start, Rosa? Yes.
Aspiring to the nature of the gods, a mind proof,
Armored.
mailed in mighty thoughts, a will entire current.
I don't know how we pronounce this word in English. I pronounced it in the French way, couchant. Couchant.
Couchant.
Mm.
Couchant behind wisdom's shield, there to still heavens of knowledge she had risen, though calm and wise and Ashwapati queen, human was she still and opened her doors to grief.
Yes, thank you. So this is all about the queen, Ashwapati's queen. She's a very noble person, actually. She's aspiring to the nature of the gods. She's got a spiritual aspiration. She's got a well-trained mind. Her mind is armored. We wear armor to protect ourselves from the weapons of enemies. So her mind is protected, proof armored. So it's supposed to be strong enough to protect her. Mailed. Mail is a particular kind of armor. It's when we have links of metal linked together. This makes mail. So that armor, it's not solid, it can move, it's more flexible. No? Mailed in mighty thoughts. So that's the protection for the mind, to have high, powerful, noble thoughts. No? And her will also, she has, he says, an entire will. It is in charge of her whole being, it's somehow integral will, and it is kusha. This is a position if you have a shield. In the old days, the warriors would have a shield, and they would have a flag. On the shield and on the flag, they would have their sign, the sign of their family and who they are. And so there's a special vocabulary of the heralds. The heralds are the people who know what is the correct way of making a person's sign. You know? And one of the signs that you may often see on shields and flags, it is a lion. And sometimes that lion is rampant, it's standing up on its hind legs and, you know, with its claws in the air. But if it's couchant, it's kind of crouching down. You know? You can see the legs, they are bent, and the lion is crouching down. Sometimes there, I think on the Queen's, the Queen of England, I think there are 3 lions couchant in one of the quarters. So that lion there, or here it is, the mind, the will, that is crouching down, it's protected by a shield of wisdom. So couchant, it's a French word, and actually it means lying down. She had even risen to still heavens of knowledge, some higher experiences of the mind. She's calm, she's wise, she's the queen of this great, the partner of this great Rishi Aswapati. So she's all these noble things, but she's still human. And when she hears that something bad is likely to happen to her beloved daughter, she opens her doors to grief. Dhanalakshmi.
The stony-eyed injustice she accused of the marble godhead of inflexible law, nor sought the strength extreme adversity brings to lives that stand erect and front the world power.
So because she's opened her doors to grief, she complains. She makes an accusation of this stony-eyed injustice of the marble godhead of inflexible law, as if there's some unavoidable law that doesn't make any allowances or exceptions. It's just like something made of stone, of marble, that can't move, that doesn't have feelings, that can't change. And Sri Aurobindo says that she didn't try to call on the strength that can come in very difficult situations, adversity, it's misfortune, difficult things. We talk about adverse forces, those are enemy forces, no? If you feel attacked, he says, if your life can stand straight up, stand erect, and face all these powers of the world that seem to be opposing you, then you can experience some great inner strength. But she doesn't do that. He says, nor and not. And she did not seek, she didn't look for that strength which extreme adversity brings to lives that stand up. She allows herself to be overwhelmed by grief. But in such situations, we do have the possibility to stand up and face the world power, and then some inner strength will come to us. Nina.
He had appealed against the
Impartial
judge, texted with perversity the impersonal one. Her tranquil speech she called not to her aid, but as a common man beneath his load, brooks him embraces his plain and ignorant words. So now she
Arraigned. The G is silent.
arraigned the words in basic view.
So she's speaking from her heart, no? And her heart appeals against that impartial judge, the impersonal one, the world power. No, but there's some feeling of revolt. How can they do this to her daughter? That judge is impartial, and he's not going to make special allowances for this particular princess. And she taxed with perversity. This impersonal one who is ruling the whole world, she accuses that supreme being of perversity, of being twisted and cruel, instead of understanding that he can only work for good. Perversity is when something is twisted, distorted. She has a tranquil spirit, a spirit that is calm and strong, but she doesn't call it to help her. Instead, just like an ordinary person, a common man, queens and kings and aristocrats are supposed to have a higher level of consciousness and education and breeding. They're supposed to be able to behave better than just ordinary people, no? But just like a common person, beneath a heavy load, somebody who has to carry a heavy load will become weak and faint, and then he'll speak out in his pain in ignorant words. He will curse and he will grumble, no? So in the same way, just like that, like an ordinary person, now she is arraigning, accusing the world's impassive will. The world doesn't care that this woman is accusing. It doesn't care at all. It won't be affected at all by her accusations. But still, she has to give voice to them. So, her speech is about 1.5 pages long. Let's make a start on it. Shiv, would you read?
What stealthy doom has crept across her path, emerging from the dark forest sudden heart? What evil thing stood smiling by the way, and wore the beauty of the Salva boy?
So she says, what kind of misfortune has come secretly, stealthily, crept in, unnoticed, has come across her path? It's come out of the forest, out of the dark forest, that sullen, unloving heart of the forest. Some evil thing has come, stood smiling by the path. He's put on the disguise of this beautiful young prince, the Prince of Shalva. Leela?
Perhaps he came an enemy from a past, armed with the hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknown, and seized her unknown.
Yes. So, of course, in India there is this belief, and it's in all the stories, if something bad happens, we can trace it back to some earlier story. That this is why this strange misfortune has to happen. It's because of something that happened before. So perhaps this innocent prince, Satyavan, has come from her past, something wrong was done to him. You know? So he's armed, he has the power with him of a hidden force of ancient wrongs. Perhaps he has been mistreated in some way. You know? But he doesn't know anything about it, and she doesn't know anything about it. You know? That kind of things can happen. Perhaps it's something like that. Revati?
Dreadfully entangled now and hate, meted blind wanderers with the perils of time. Our days are links of a disastrous chain. Necessity avenges casual steps. Old cruelties come back unrecognized. The gods make use of our perverted deeds.
Yes. So she says, here in our world of duality, love and hate are dreadfully entangled. They're not separate things that we can always separate. They get mixed together. No? And mixed together, they meet us. Because we are blind in our journey. We are blind warriors, wanderers. We are moving through the paths of time and the perils of time, the dangers of time. We don't see what is the future. We don't see what is the past. Without us knowing it, our days are links in a disastrous chain. Every day is connected to all the other days before and the days to come. No? And because of those links, there's a kind of necessity, what in India we call karma, consequences. So necessity avenges, it punishes, it takes revenge on just small things that accidentally we have done wrong. Casual steps. Maybe we couldn't help, or we just made some small mistake. Have to bear the consequences of it. And old cruelties, things that have happened in past lives, they come back. We don't recognize them. We don't know why we are suffering. It must be because of something in the past. The gods make use of our forgotten deeds, the things that we've done and we are not aware of anymore at all. Joel.
Yet all in vain the bitter law was made. Our own minds are the justicers of doom. For nothing have we learned, but still repeat our stark misuse of self and others' souls.
So the Queen is expressing the traditional Indian understanding of this law of karma and rebirth. But Sri Aurobindo doesn't accept that simplistic idea. No, he says, what is the use of punishing us when we don't know what we are being punished for? That this can't be the way that things work. So he hints at that in what she says now. What is the use of it, no? All in vain, this bitter law of the consequences was made. And then she says it's our own minds that carry out the doom, the misfortune. It's a result of our own consciousness, because we haven't learned anything from our past mistakes. And we go on repeating the misuse that we've made of ourselves and of the souls of others. We don't learn anything from this law of karma. Would you like to read? Yes?
Now there alchemists of the human heart, and falling from this ethereal element, loves darkness to the spirit of another God.
Yes. So this is also true, we can recognize this, that in the human heart there are dreadful things that happen, dire alchemies. Alchemy actually was the search to turn everything into gold, but it can happen the other way round. Things that are golden can get turned into things that are just the opposite. No? So love actually is a divine power. But here on earth, fallen from his ethereal element, love can turn dark. It can darken to the spirit of nether gods, the gods of the lower levels of consciousness. It can happen that if we feel thwarted or mistreated in our love, it can turn to hate and bitterness and even cruelty. Mahalingam.
There are
No, the dreadful angel.
the dreadful angel, angry with his joys, woundingly sweet, he cannot yet forego. He is pitiless to the soul, his gaze disarmed. He resists with his own pangs, his quivering prey, forcing us to cling enamored to his grip, as if in love with our own agony.
So of course this is about love as it is distorted here in our ignorant, undeveloped hearts. No? Then he becomes a dreadful angel. An angel is a heavenly messenger, but it can be dreadful. If he becomes angry, he's angry with this. Divine love is pure, you know, and it doesn't ask anything for itself. But if it gets perverted in the human heart, then it may happen that we become addicted to a relationship. It's woundingly sweet. There's something in it which is painful, and yet we can't do without it. He cannot yet forego. To forego something, it means to step back, to renounce, to become detached. I don't need this. No? He's attached. He can't give it up. So then he becomes angry, and he's pitiless to the soul that his gaze has disarmed. The soul has opened to the eyes of love, to the touch of love. And then the poor soul can be very much wounded. That dreadful angel, the pain that he is feeling, he inflicts it on his quivering prey. You know, it's as if he's a bird that's got hold of a rabbit or something. And then we human beings, we are his quivering prey. We cling, enamored, we're in love with that love, but what we're in love with is our own suffering, our own. It's as if we are in love with our own suffering. We see these things happening, terrible. So the Queen recognizes that these things happen in life. Perhaps something dreadful like that is going to happen between Savitri and Sathyavan. Very, very painful relationship from which neither partner can escape. Coming from the distortion of love on the vital plane. You read, Alexei?
This is one poignant misery in the world, and grief has other losses for our life. Our sympathies become our torturers. Strength have I my own punishment to bear, knowing it just, but on this earth perplexed, smitten in the sorrow of scorched and helpless things, often in things to meet other suffering eyes.
Yes. So this, what she's just described, the way that love can turn sour and bitter and painful, this is one painful misery in the world. But grief, suffering, has other ways of catching hold of us. Lasso, a lasso is that what the cowboys used to catch their cows, a rope to catch. So in the same way, grief can catch hold of us. Through, and she gives the example of sympathy. We may suffer not because anything has gone wrong for us, but because we see other people suffering. It can be very painful sometimes. She says, I have the strength to bear my own punishment because I know it is just. But on this earth, this perplexed earth, this puzzled and bewildered earth, when I get struck by the sorrow of helpless things, scourged and helpless things, then my heart faints. It doesn't have the strength to meet the suffering that is in the eyes of other beings. These lines remind me of a story that is told about Sri Ramakrishna, who saw somebody mercilessly beating a poor bullock. And his sympathies, his identification with that suffering animal was such that he had the marks of the whip on his own body. So sometimes it can be like that. Scourged means to be beaten. That's what made me think of it. You know, you scourge the bullock, you beat it, whip it. Horrible. Gomsun?
We are not as the gods who know not grief, and they look impassive on the suffering world. Calm they gaze down on the little human sin, and the short-lived passion causing mortal hearts. An ancient tale of the world can move us still. We keep the ache of breasts that breathe no more. We are shaken by the sight of human pain and share the miseries that others feel.
Yes. So she says, we are not like the gods. They don't know what grief is. They look down on the suffering world and they are impassive. They don't feel that suffering at all. Their eyes are calm as they gaze down on this little human scene, this drama here, and the short-lived passion, the intense feelings that pass through mortal hearts. And she says, even a story, an old story of unhappiness can move us still. We keep the pain, the ache of breasts of people who have died long ago. And we are shaken by the sight of human pain. We don't want to see suffering. We share the miseries that other people feel. It's one capacity of the human heart. This line 500, it's one of the places in the poem where Sri Aurobindo quotes or alludes to some other piece of literature. I think this is an echo of a line in the poem of Virgil, who wrote about the great hero Aeneas, who escaped from the destruction of Troy and had long travels and sufferings until he reached Italy, where he founded the Roman tribe. And the Latin poet Virgil, he wrote all that story. In the course of his travels, Aeneas lands up on the coast of North Africa in a country that's ruled by a queen, Queen Dido. And then he tells her all his story about the war with the Greeks and the Trojans and everything that went wrong and all the difficulties that he's been through. And she says something like this, that our human heart is moved even by an old story of suffering. We can feel it, we feel sympathy. Sergei.
Ours not the passionless leaves that cannot age. Too hard for us is heaven's indifference. Our own tragedies are not enough for us. All pathos and all sufferings will make ours. We have sorrow for a greatness pass away, and feel the touch of tears in mortal things.
Yes. So we are not like the gods with their lids, their eyes that don't know, that are so calm. They don't die, they don't age and die. Our eyes are not like that. So this indifference of heaven seems too hard to us. We find it difficult to bear. And it's as if our own tragedies, our own difficulties and sufferings are not enough for us. We have sympathy, we identify with all pathos, all sufferings we make ours. Pathos, painful things. And then these next two lines, they're also a quotation from the same part of Virgil's poem. She says, we have sorrow for some great things that have passed away. We feel sad about it, the death of great heroes. And we feel the touch of tears in mortal things. So this is Sri Aurobindo's translation of, or adaptation of a line in Virgil, which he refers to many times in the correspondence between him and K.D. Setna Amalkiran. And it's a famous line because it's so poignant. Virgil puts it so beautifully in Latin, but we don't know exactly how to translate it. So this is the way Sri Aurobindo has put it, that there's a touch of tears in mortal things. I wonder if I can say it. Sunt lacrimae rerum, und mentem mortalia tangunt. There are tears in things, and they touch the mind of the mortal, the human being. It's a very bad translation, but anyway, literally. Sunt lacrimae rerum, there are tears in things, and they touch the mortal, the human feelings. Bella.
Even a stranger's anguish rends my heart, and this, O night, is my well-loved child. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. This is the worst and unknown phase of fate. The terror ominous mute, felt more than seen, behind our seat by day, our couch by night, the fate lurking in the shadow
of the unseen that waits to strike. To know is best, however hard to bear.
To bear. Yes. So she says, even if I hear about the sufferings of a stranger, it tears my heart, my human heart. And this, O Narad, is my well-loved child. Imagine how I feel. So she tells him, if doom is ours, if something bad is going to happen, please don't hide it from us. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. Because she says the worst thing is an unknown face of fate. The sage tells you something very bad is going to happen. You want to know what it is, because the worst thing is just to feel that something is very bad is going to happen and you don't know what it is. The worst, an unknown face of fate. It becomes a threatening terror, silent terror. It's not seen, you don't see the danger, but you feel it. It's there during the daytime, it's behind you, your seat, behind your bed at night. It's a fate, something terrible, lurking, hiding in the shadows of our hearts. An unseen anguish, a suffering, it's just waiting for its moment to strike. So all that time you are suffering. So this is why, of course, we don't know the future. The gods veil the future from us so that we won't have to bear the burden of foreknowledge. She says to know is best. However hard it is to bear, it's better to know what is the doom, what is the dreadful thing that's going to happen.
So last week we read the future knowledge is an added pain.
Yes, yes. He had warned, no? That a future knowledge is an added pain. But anyway, it's clear that there is something there that has to be known. So Savitri's mother wants to know exactly what it is, what is going to go wrong. So Suresh
Then grief
cried.
the sage pressing the mother's heart, forcing to stay the will of Savitri. His words set free the spring of cosmic fate.
Yes. So now he's going to speak, he's going to tell. And what he tells is like an arrow going through the heart of Savitri's mother. But on Savitri, it has a different effect. It makes her will stronger, forcing to steal the will of Savitri. And because he is Narad, and because he has these powers, and because he can only speak the truth, when he puts it into words, this is like loosening a spring, set free the spring, and then the clockwork events begin to happen, one thing after another. He said it, so it's going to happen. Maybe I can read this next sentence. This is not what he says. This is what Sri Aurobindo says. He says, the great gods use the pain of human hearts as a sharp axe to hew their cosmic road, to cut the way through that the universe has to move. They squander lavishly men's blood and tears for a moment's purpose in their fateful work. To squander means to spread, to waste actually. Lavishly, they waste lots and lots of blood and tears just to achieve one particular purpose, a moment's purpose in their fateful work. They're the gods, they don't care. They use this pain that we suffer to achieve their purposes. This cosmic nature's balance is not ours, nor the mystic measure of her need and use. The way that nature works, and the way that she weighs things up, is not the way that we do it. And the way that she measures her need and her use, it's completely different from the way that we human beings see things. A single word lets loose vast agencies. So just a single word, maybe that's spoken in a casual way, it sets going all these vast machinery. No? A casual act, something you do just like that, determines the world's fate, the fate of the whole world. So now he, Narad, set free destiny in that hour. He's not going to say a single word, he's going to say quite a lot of words, but he's going to say the word which determines, first of all, Savitri's future, and then the course of her great mission. So we'll look at that next time. Shall we read these lines together? Aspiring to the nature of the gods, a mind proof-armoured, mailed in mighty thoughts, a will entire, cushioned behind wisdom's shield, though to still heavens of knowledge she had risen, though calm and wise and Asvapati's queen, human was she still, and opened her doors to grief. The stony-eyed injustice she accused of the marble godhead of inflexible law, nor sought the strength extreme adversity brings to lives that stand erect and front the world power. Her heart appealed against the impartial judge, taxed with perversity, the impersonal one. Her tranquil spirit she called not to her aid, but as a common man beneath his load grows faint and breathes his pain in ignorant words, so now she arraigned the world's impassive will. What stealthy doom has crept across her path, emerging from the dark forest's sullen heart? What evil thing stood smiling by the way and wore the beauty of the Shalwa boy? Perhaps he came an enemy from her past, armed with a hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknowing, and seized her unknown. Here, dreadfully entangled, love and hate meet us blind wanderers mid the perils of time. Our days are links of a disastrous chain. Necessity avenges casual steps. Old cruelties come back unrecognized. The gods make use of our forgotten deeds. Yet all in vain the bitter law was made. Our own minds are the justices of doom. For nothing have we learned, but still repeat our stark misuse of self and others' souls. There are dire alchemies of the human heart, and fallen from his ethereal element, love darkens to the spirit of nether gods. The dreadful angel, angry with his joys woundingly sweet, he cannot yet forego, is pitiless to the soul his gaze disarmed. He visits with his own pangs his quivering prey, forcing us to cling enamoured to his grip, as if in love with our own agony. This is one poignant misery in the world, and grief has other lassos for our life. Our sympathies become our torturers. Strength have I my own punishment to bear, knowing it just. But on this earth perplexed, smitten in the sorrow of scourged and helpless things, often it faints to meet other suffering eyes. We are not as the gods who know not grief and look impassive on a suffering world. Calm, they gaze down on the little human scene and the short-lived passion crossing mortal hearts. An ancient tale of woe can move us still. We keep the ache of breasts that breathe no more. We are shaken by the sight of human pain and share the miseries that others feel. Ours not the passionless lids that cannot age. Too hard for us is heaven's indifference. Our own tragedies are not enough for us. All pathos and all sufferings we make ours. We have sorrow for a greatness passed away, and feel the touch of tears in mortal things. Even a stranger's anguish rends my heart. And this, O Narad, is my well-loved child. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. This is the worst, an unknown face of fate, a terror ominous, mute, felt more than seen, behind our seat by day, our couch by night, a fate lurking in the shadow of our hearts, the anguish of the unseen that waits to strike. To know is best, however hard to bear. Then cried the sage, piercing the mother's heart, forcing to steal the will of Savitri. His words set free the spring of cosmic fate. The great gods use the pain of human hearts as a sharp axe to hew their cosmic road. They squander lavishly men's blood and tears for a moment's purpose in their fateful work. This cosmic nature's balance is not ours, nor the mystic measure of her need and use. A single word lets loose vast agencies. A casual act determines the world's fate. So now he set free destiny in that hour.